Today we're going to be comparing two AI-powered face-tracking gesture-controlled webcams. These are very similar cameras, one might say suspiciously similar. Now, both companies did send me this webcam for free and I do get to keep it, but they're not paying me for this video. In fact, both of them tried to offer me money for this and I said no because people on YouTube would get really mad at me. And I'm afraid of you guys. But you know who is sponsoring this video? That's right, Skillshare. Skillshare is an online learning community with thousands of classes to help you with your content creation journey. I've never filmed with two cameras before. I don't know which camera I'm looking at. Making YouTube videos is a lot of work. You gotta wear multiple hats, so you gotta be good at like marketing, video production, storytelling. And I think we can all agree that MKBHD is like the perfect example of a YouTuber that runs a YouTube channel really well. And luckily, he has a full class on Skillshare for how he scripts, shoots, and edits his videos, so you can see his whole process for how he makes his YouTube videos look amazing. Not just how he makes his videos look really good and aesthetic, but I'm talking about like the whole storytelling process, and that was I watched it and that was probably the best part of the class. Like it talks about how to create a hook and then thread that through the entirety of the video. It's very insightful. It's probably my favorite class in Skillshare. It's not often that you get a deep insight in how the top creators go about their craft. It's super interesting hearing his thought process and how he structures the stories of his videos. And you can check out MKBHD's class on Skillshare as well as hundreds of other classes. Just check out the link down below and the first 1,000 of you will get a free 1-month trial of their premium membership. Okay, so first, let's talk about image quality. Now, I've intentionally not used my main mirrorless camera because obviously if I use my main camera and then switch to these USB webcams, yeah, they're not gonna look as good. It's like giving you guys Wagyu and then be like, yo, how's this Big Mac taste? Yeah, you like the Flame Whopper from Burger King? I also haven't told you guys which camera is which. Now, this is the most important part of the video because for the rest of the video, I'm gonna be talking about the software and the face tracking, but the most important part of any webcam is how it looks. What is the image quality actually like? I'm not gonna be commenting too much on how I personally feel about the video quality because, well, I'm assuming you guys have eyeballs, and I feel like if I say what I think, then you guys are like totally simping for me and you're just gonna be like, yeah, I agree with Nutty, like he's totally right. Try to figure out which one you personally like better because it doesn't matter if I say X camera is better than Y camera if you would like Y camera. So just figure it out on your own, yeah? Both the webcams are running at 1080p 60 frames per second, and I also have the full studio lighting on. In fact, let me turn off all my lights and just leave the ceiling lights on so you can see what a low light test looks like. So now I only have the ceiling lights on. It's not an ideal lighting situation. You really should invest in lighting before you invest in a more expensive webcam. But if you, for some reason, refuse to use lights, then this is the kind of image quality you can expect. All right, 2 seconds is enough for a low light test. Let me turn the lights back on. I'm not gonna get into specs like the sensor size. You can read about that in other reviews or just go to their websites. Frankly, I don't really care what sensor's in it because what ultimately matters is what the cameras look like. And I feel like if I told you which sensor's bigger, you're gonna instinctively think, oh, that webcam has to look better. So I think it's actually better to just not know what sensor is in each of the cameras. But some things that you should be paying attention to are, number one, the color. Which one of these cameras renders my skin tones more accurately to your eyes? And the second is dynamic range. Now, I've got really black hair and I'm wearing a dark t-shirt today. And what you'll typically notice on cheaper webcams is that they struggle with trying to get detail in the really dark areas and the really bright areas of your shot. So typically with cheaper webcams, you won't see the individual strands of my hair, and if there's any bright white spots, it will just appear like a white blob with no detail. Both of these cameras also have autofocus, so we'll do a quick autofocus test. We'll do this one first. And then this one. Oh. And then once more again. I think that's all I had to say with regards to image quality. So let's go ahead and reveal which camera is which. And here they are. So let me know if that surprised you guys at all. Did you guys get that right? I'm losing my balance because I'm standing. So now that you know which camera is which, let's go through the software. Now, Both of these cameras have their own software that you have to install to control the gimbal, so you can point the camera wherever you want around the room, and you can also control the exposure settings and the color. And you can get surprisingly deep with both of these cameras. Like, both of these webcams allow you to control the shutter speed, ISO, and color temperature, which is pretty unique for webcams. You didn't start seeing that until recently, like with the Elgato Facecam. And the Insta360 takes it a step further and allows you to adjust the exposure curve, which the OBSBOT can't do. They also both support HDR, which I'm gonna enable right now. Okay, so I've turned HDR on both webcams. Now, the Insta360 doesn't allow you to go up to 4K if you have HDR on, and the OBSBOT can go all the way up to 4K, but both webcams, if you use HDR, you can only run it at 30 frames per second. But I'm gonna turn HDR off for both of the webcams because, frankly, I would rather use my webcams at 60 frames per second. Now, one of the features I really love about the Insta360 is that it has full support for vertical resolutions because the camera can physically tilt on its side. And that's because it has a 3-axis gimbal, whereas the OBSBOT only has a 2-axis gimbal. So there's no way, even through a software update, to physically add that feature in because the camera just can't rotate like that. In fact, the Insta360 just recently added a gimbal level adjustment feature. So if you've mounted the camera not quite straight, you can physically rotate the camera and fix the angle so that it looks right. On the other hand, the OBSBOT has some very interesting beauty options. Like, it can totally reshape your facial structure, your body structure. It will literally warp the entire Earth just to make you look taller. What's up, guys? I've been on a weight loss journey. Personally, I find this to be more of a gimmick than something I would actually use. Beauty options seem like a very weird thing to add, especially in the West, but for the Asian market, beauty options are actually more of an expectation. Every single smartphone, the default camera has all sorts of beauty options. It's hard to understand unless you actually have experienced it before. A lot of the other features are more or less the same. You know what, I'm just gonna say it. They're exactly the same, okay? They both have an overhead view mode, a desk view mode, and you can set up predefined positions. The OBSBOT allows you to set up to 3 predefined positions, and the Insta360 allows you to set up 6. They also both claim to have a whiteboard feature. I'm not a professor at a university, so I have no use for that. I didn't get to test it out. Now, this is where it gets really interesting. Now, both of these webcams have AI face tracking. So let me just turn them both on so you can see what they look like. Oh. Okay, they're both on right now. And they're both really good at tracking your body. But I have found that the OBSBOT is a little bit better and can track if I move really erratically. So if I just do a test right here, check this out. So the Insta360 has lost me because I've just been moving too fast. I'm too fast for the camera, baby. But the OBSBOT is just fine, even with my super erratic movements. Let me fix my hair. Should never do that again. Actually, you know what? I lied. Let's do one more test just to really make sure that this works. So face tracking is enabled for both. Okay. Now I'm gonna go super fast. Don't miss this. What the hell am I doing? I need to work out more. Okay, I need to catch myself. Jesus. Okay, don't ever make me do that again. So you can see from that test, both cameras kind of lost me halfway through, but I feel like the OBSBOT did a better job of tracking me. Guys, I'm still tired. Sorry. The OBSBOT did a better job of tracking me. And you'll also notice that the OBSBOT, I feel, was smoother in its movements. But that could have just been me, but at least in my experience, that's what it felt like. On top of that, the Insta360 Link can only track you at a far, medium, and close range, whereas the OBSBOT can track even your hand, don't know why you'd want that, and your feet, which I'm sure is gonna be really popular with some of you guys. And supposedly the OBSBOT can control multiple people, but I don't have any friends, so sorry, I wasn't able to test that. There's even a feature called zone tracking. So basically, whenever you get into a zone, the camera will kind of stick and not move, but as soon as you leave that zone, then the camera will start tracking you again. I don't know how successfully I was able to test that. I'm gonna test it again and then put it B-roll over here to see if it works. Because when I was testing it on stream, I had a little bit of trouble getting that to work, but that is a feature that it has that the Insta360 doesn't have at all. Overall, I found the tracking to be better on the OBSBOT, but as long as you're not running around like an idiot, then both of these cameras do a pretty good job of tracking you. So I don't think you'll be disappointed either way, but if tracking is super important to you, then I probably would have to go with the OBSBOT. The OBSBOT also has an option for a remote, and this is super cool. So you could control the gimbal, go left and right, and you can set up preset positions, which you could just click a button and that will zoom in on my forehead, and then click another button and then it will zoom out again. This is actually way more convenient than I thought. You could also enable the tracking. So tracking is on, and then when I want it to stop, click the button and then the tracking stops. And then I just press the P1, snaps back to my face. The Insta360, on the other hand, I feel like they saw what OBSBOT was doing and they were like, you know what? We can have a remote too. So in the latest software update, they have a QR code that you can just scan with your phone. And when you scan it, you get this remote that just appears, and then you can just control the phone or control the camera just like that using your phone. And then same thing, you can set it to preset positions to snap to, and you can turn the face tracking on remotely. And that just happens from a free software update. You don't need to get an extra accessory to enable that. You just update the firmware and then you can control it from your phone, which is cool. The tracking is also a lot more intuitive too, because you just slide it over this pad and it's like really fast. Whereas on the OBSBOT, you kind of just have to press like left and right. And so it's not as smooth and it's a lot slower. Having said that, it is kind of nice to have like tactile buttons that you can just press to control the camera. So it's positives and negatives, but yeah, this, you don't even have to pay for this, you just get it. Whereas this, you gotta get the extra accessory for this. But yeah, that's gonna do it. Guys, let me know what you guys think of these cameras. Go follow me on Twitch. I stream 3 nights a week, and you guys can ask me questions about streaming or whatever it is that I happen to be doing right now. Other than that, thank you guys for watching. I'll see you guys next week. Goodbye, thank you, and yeah, do the comment. I don't know where I'm walking to, but yeah, go tell me which camera you think is the best down below.